Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So for all you Audie fans, it's been raining on and off for the last week or so, and Audie hates the rain, so he is currently sleeping under the kitchen table. He needs me to see that he's sleeping on the floor like an animal. You know, his life is so pathetic, but if he really wanted to find somewhere on the floor to sleep, he wouldn't have found quite such a conspicuous location as right under the kitchen table where anybody could see him. So this is all about the feel sorry for me. I have my little Audie necklace on, and frankly, I think that's probably just about all of the Audie time we're going to get on this video, because he's sulking, and he's probably going to continue to sulk until the rain goes away. So we're going to take a quick look at the intro, and we'll be right back to get on to things. So we are being treated to another publicity blitz by Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet. And the question that everybody is speculating on is, what are they distracting us from? Because this is clearly a distraction of some sort. So let's take a look at the possible candidates, the things going on in their lives that they might want us not to be thinking about or talking about, the things they might not want the media to be reporting about. So let's start with the Sock Puppet. And he's got an awful lot on his plate right now. He has 2 African charities, and they apparently are both under significant investigation at this point. We've got Africa Parks, where the staff has been accused of abusing the people, the Baka people. And these are people who are indigenous to the area where Africa Parks is located, and they have been for countless generations. This is their ancestral land where they hunt and forage. And apparently one day somebody came along, put up a park, and said, you don't get to come here anymore. Well, I don't think the Baka people really have a clear sense of private property or why Africa Parks feels entitled to land that has been ancestrally held by their people for Lord only knows how long. So yeah, kind of a problem. And the abuses have apparently been documented. So the Sock Puppet basically has nowhere to go on this.
Where you going? Nowhere. That's right.
And as if that isn't bad enough, Steube, his other African charity, is also in free fall. So, and this one, in some ways, it's worse than the situation with Africa Parks. And nobody's being injured, so I'm not trying to minimize that. But in the sense that the Sock Puppet has a direct link to the free fall of Steube. And there's not even a buffer zone to protect him from this one. And the problem at Steube is that the director, Dr. Sophie, has asked for an investigation. And this is the director asking for an investigation of her own charity. And this came about following an unfortunate incident in which Nutmeg, so yeah, we got an even better link here, in which Nutmeg began scooting the director of the charity to one side, forcing her to crawl under a trophy. That was humiliating, in order for Nutmeg to be the one in the center of the photograph. It's like, good heavens. And as if that's not bad enough, the Sock Puppet follows up with an email to Dr. Sophie asking her to make a publicity release claiming that Nutmeg didn't do anything inappropriate. And Dr. Sophie, in fact, refused, justifiably, because she did not want to create the precedent of Steube being used as a PR outlet for the sock puppet. So yeah, problems and more problems. The truth is, the sock puppet's involvement with these charities is at best marginal. He has no real connection to these charities at all anymore. He does not spend time with them, not that he spends time with any of his charities, unless, of course, there are photo ops and it's going to get him on the front page. So this is all part of his look at me living a life of service thing. And if he can't use it to bolster his position as a life of service member of the royal family, it's so he can use it for other forms of publicity leading to commercial ventures. And I'm not surprised that these things are finally crumbling, because these are not charities for the sock puppet anymore. They are vehicles by which he can get his picture on the front page, or get his wife's picture on the front page, dead center, or use to function as a springboard for his commercial ventures. So yeah, not surprising. And then we have the BBC interview that followed up on his loss of his security case in the UK. I have no idea why he expected anything different. He certainly seemed angry and disappointed to find he lost, but this wasn't his first loss. I believe this was like his third loss. And he is that very definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So obviously he should have expected this, but he did lash out at his family and basically said, you know, if his family comes to harm, we know where the blame lies, meaning his father. And although he did not come right out and say, my father is trying to kill me, he might as well have. The implications were so clear, you couldn't draw any alternative subtext from any of this. So yeah, and by the way, every other sentence, it's, you know, my father is out to get me. And meanwhile, on the alternating sentences, it was, I want reconciliation. And he sounded like a delusional child. And then, of course, he had to upstage the King's trip to Canada to open Parliament there with his own trip to China in order to push the travelist agenda, which, by the way, is eco-friendly traveling. And I don't imagine he took a paddle boat to China. No, I'm figuring he went there on a plane. So, I mean, gosh, the hypocrisy is strong with this one. And then we come to Spare. And the sock puppet, when Spare came out, had said that he had enough content to do another complete book. And people are resurfacing that quote now, presumably because they think this may be the mysterious upcoming commercial venture the sock puppet has been hinting about. It's like, good heavens, do spare us, dear sock puppet, because the first one was bad enough. I would hate to see what the outtakes are like. And then, on top of that, moving away from the sock puppet, we have his charming wife, and in her case, we have her commercial ventures, which are utterly falling apart. As ever, started off with a very short production run, and it sold out very quickly, but nobody is even looking at it in the context of it's sold out because it's popular. Everyone now is looking at it in the context of it's sold out because it was a very limited run. And first she says she's going to reissue stock, and then she says she's going to step back, assess, and not reissue stock until 2026. And then she said, no, we are reissuing new products, and it's like watching a ping pong match. Who can keep up at this point? Now, I had speculated with the short run of As Ever products that they might have been trial runs. And this happens with manufacturing companies. When they will want to get the contract to produce someone's product, they will often do a small run just to show the company how well they're going to be able to execute their production of the company's products. And the interesting thing is these short production runs are usually done at a very low cost because the manufacturers are at this point competing to win the contract. So yeah, they'll do it. They'll do it sometimes at cost, sometimes they'll even do it below cost. And we are now seeing some critiques of this. By the way, in the video notes, so do take a look. There is a wonderful evaluation of the problems with the production of Nutmeg's As Ever products. And this is someone who is experienced in copy editing, in exactly the sort of thing that you need, the skill set, in order to get a package off the assembly line that looks professional. And good Lord, she has utterly shredded the As Ever products. Labels applied at an angle, bubbling under the labels, and that's just the actual production parts. When the labels were created, different font sizes, different styles, things are not justified end to end. It's, when you look at it, it really does look like a complete amateur job and not a professional production. So yeah, that is starting to make me think that maybe I was really right when I said these were trial runs. They were proof runs, so to speak. And this is why they sold out so very quickly, because they were so small. And the reason that Nutmeg was interested in backing off is because she may well have discovered in the course of these proof runs that her product was not profitable. Doesn't matter anyway. That weather vane in her head blows north and south, and who knows why she does what she does. But what we do have now is the most recent series of stunts. We start off with the twerking in what was allegedly a hospital room by, again, an allegedly pregnant Nutmeg, which everyone decried as being in truly poor taste. I guess she buys into that theory that there's no such thing as bad press, because she certainly got her share of press over this, and none of it was good. This was just, oh, look at the yacht girl go kind of press. It's the sort of thing that made you think, gee, I wonder how many $1 bills I have in my wallet, because if I go anywhere near her, I'm sure going to need them. Next up, we had her taking the sock puppet and the putative children off to Disneyland to allegedly celebrate the putative child Lily's 4th birthday. There's been a lot of talk about this. A lot of the photos have been, a lot of the photos have been alleged to have been doctored. And we do know Nutmeg doctors photos all the time. This is what she does. So, are the children even there? Who knows? I really don't know, and I've given up trying to figure this one out. What is obvious is that Nutmeg is the star of these photos. She's working very hard to sort of cosplay Diana, and as usual, she's not very successful. But hey, maybe the sock puppet will buy into it. He's bought into that before. But again, it shows us that all she is really doing is trying to get her own narrative out there and responding to the criticisms in social media. Because one of the chief criticisms that has been raised recently, and by that I mean sometime between the beginning of May and the beginning of June, when allegedly the birthdays of these two putative children fall, that, oh, the sock puppet's not there for yet another birthday. Then this is the man who claims that being a dad is the most important thing in his life. Not there for the putative child Archie's birthday, and not there for the putative child Lily's birthday. What can I say? People who take great pride, who self-identify in being a dad, show up for their kid's birthday, even if that's the only day of the year they show up. So, yeah, of course there was going to be comment on it. And social media also comments on the fact that the children are never seen in public. I have seen people write things about the children. It's like they may be held as hostages. I'm not even sure the children exist in the first place, so I don't have any comment on that. If they do, then certainly, yeah, you would have expected to see a lot more of them. But again, this public Disneyland trip was clearly in response to the social media criticisms, because this is not one you see much of in the mainstream media. This is a criticism. It shows up on Facebook, on Twitter/X, on YouTube, on Reddit, but it doesn't show up on the front pages of the New York Times. So, yeah, we all know she's always followed social media. She always looks up everything everybody is saying about her, and her publicity stunts are invariably designed to defeat the narrative being put forward by social media, which of course is based on the evidence, and further her own narrative as the alternative. So yeah, I would say we don't have to look very far to figure out why all of this is happening, why all of a sudden we're seeing images of the allegedly heavily pregnant Nutmeg twerking in what is alleged to be a hospital room. Yeah, because she knows people are questioning that pregnancy. Now we've got the putative children allegedly in Disneyland. Why? Because people are questioning the children. Do they exist? Are these real kids? To what extent are they being photoshopped? Why are they not out in public like normal children would be? So yeah, it's all about the social media criticisms, and she is trying to take back the narrative. I don't even know what to say, but I would say that, yes, that is what the distractions are about. We need to turn attention away from the debacle that is the Africa Charities of the sock puppets, but the equally bizarre debacle of Nutmeg's As Ever venture. And let's face it, we know that the Netflix show and the podcast did not do well. So what else is she going to do? She's going to go off and do bizarre publicity stunts. In my day, this was the sort of thing Jane Mansfield did. Bizarre publicity stunts. So I'm wondering, it's probably only a matter of time before Nutmeg decides that she's going to take it even further, and heaven only knows what that's going to consist of. So, yeah, I think this is what we're looking at here. Covering up the Africa Park scandal, covering up the disaster that is As Ever, and simultaneously clapping back against the narrative that is emerging from social media. And frankly, it's emerging from multiple sources simultaneously. So it's not as if there is a conspiracy, not even close. We're all looking at this and seeing the same things. So she knows she's got to reclaim that narrative. And now we're seeing her out and about with the children. You know, the children they leave behind all the time while they're doing their own thing. But yeah, oh, by the way, that's another common criticism you hear on social media, that Nutmeg and the sock puppet don't spend any time with their putative children at all. Clap back. So I think that's what's going on. I do worry, just for the sake of the general public and our sense of good taste, because when this sort of outrageous media blitz doesn't work, where is there left for her to go? And I cringe to think. All right, that's what I have for you today. We're going to break early. We are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out, and I thought we would look at the darling little Cambridge kids because they are as cute as buttons, and we get to see them whenever we want. So I hope to see you all next time, and in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.